Hello, everybody. Great to be here again. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'd like to welcome you to GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 17 companies, been involved in two unicorns on the original management team at Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion almost 3 years ago now. My, doesn't time fly when you're having fun. And also Eva.ai, one of the premier AI HR tech companies out of Silicon Valley. It's great to be here. I love artificial intelligence, quantum, crypto, incredible technologies, incredible people that are really changing the world. So with that, I have an amazing guest today. My friend David Marshall is an investor, an entrepreneur, a good guy, has an incredible story of changing lives, changing technologies, and really helping them make the world a bit of a better place. And stay tuned because he has some really, really cool announcements today. And with that, the one, the only, David Marshall. Hi, David.
Hey, thanks, Gary. What an introduction.
What can I say? I mean, it is what it is. You're an amazing guy. So, how do you, I got a question for you. So you were in professional soccer. How in the world do you go from professional soccer to investing to crypto? I mean, it's just like you've had an amazing career. How's that happen?
Well, I guess some luck there. Maybe a little bit of judgment, but I think they're one thing in common. Well, usually successful sports people tend to have a bit of money, so I think investment is not that far of a stretch for professional sports people these days. That wasn't really my story, though. I was never a wealthy sportsman. It was just a real passion. Played sport at a very young age. I got spotted or scouted, as Americans would like to put it, with just playing in my backyard and out there every day, as young kids do. Kicking a ball around. In my case, couldn't afford a proper football, so we kicked around a tennis ball. I was lucky. I was scouted by a professional scout, and I was there, kind of rushed into this youth program, and from pretty much 8-9 years old, I was there till I was pretty much 21. So yeah, it was an interesting development for me.
From 8 or 9 years old, they scouted you, and they marched in. How does that work? I mean, what do they see? You're kicking a tennis ball. They said, he's the one. He's the best.
Yeah, it wasn't that simple. But no, I mean, I think what happened was from that, the guy saw me kicking around. The scout saw me kicking this ball around, and then followed me around, watching me play soccer or football, for different teams. I played for the county and for my school, and I did play for teams, or kind of amateur teams when I was young. So I didn't know until after that he was kind of watching me, and it was luck because he lived in the same street as me, so he was watching me through the window. I guess every now and again. I only found out later that that's the story, which was kind of pretty cool.
Well, here's a part I'm trying to understand. How in the world, what did he see in the tennis ball when you were kicking it that made him say, he's the one? That's the guy. I can tell he's the one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't really remember that far back, but there was one thing he did say. Me and my brother used to go out there every time we had any chance to escape from being in the house and being asked to do chores. So we had this little ball, and I think it was easier to sneak a tennis ball out of the house than maybe something bigger. So when we were young, it was we were playing these like keepy-uppies. So I don't know if people do that, but we were literally just keeping these tennis balls up in the air. And, we try to always kick it up at least 100 times between each other. So I guess that's pretty unique. Maybe a lot of kids don't have that skill. But it was enough to get me that first opportunity. And
that's great. I love it. That's a wonderful story. That is a fantastic story. It's my experience with the tennis was I really wanted to get a varsity jacket in high school. And I was in martial arts and not wrestling or football or things like that. And so I thought, well, geez, I can play tennis maybe. I don't know. I'll get a racket. So my uncle gave me a racket. I went to a tennis court. We never had lessons, but we practiced every single day. And we end up being number 2 and number 3 on the high school tennis team from zero.
There you go.
The problem is we didn't know the rules. Only thing we knew about it, you have to hit it in. If it goes in and you don't miss, you win. It was a simple thing. So now, incredible story. So, okay, you're in Australia, right? Your parents are from the UK. And
yeah, well, I was born in Australia. Yeah, I was born in Australia. But my parents then kind of emigrated back. This is the funny thing. They emigrated from the UK to Australia. I'm actually one of 8 children. I'm like number 4 of 8. And I was the last one to be born in Australia. And then my parents came back to the UK for business, and my youngest 4 siblings, they were then born in the UK. And that's where I started playing professional soccer, because it was for an English football team. Otherwise, I'd probably be playing rugby or cricket or something if I was from Australia, you know.
Yeah, no, what an amazing story. And so you go down through, you start out at Celestial Group, private equity, Linux IT, moving up Access Networks, Capital. You can see this migration. What made you decide to make the move, moving into investments, moving into IT, and then with Marshall and Capital. And now I understand you have some big announcements we're going to hear in a little bit about some of the things you're working on. But yeah, how do you go through that? What made you decide? What was the progression like? Here you are with 8 kids in your family. You're, from Australia, parents are from the UK, move over. What made you decide to say, listen, I want to move into investment. I want to move into crypto. I want to move into all kinds. What was it like? How did you make the progression from one?
Yeah. You get to a point in age where you kind of forget a lot of stuff, but you kind of remember things in the past easier than yesterday or last week. So yeah, it was quite the move. I guess when I was playing like football, soccer, that was kind of my dream. It's not a job, it's just a hobby, and if you can earn from that, then it's the dream. I'm still probably old enough to remember that actually there was a time when soccer players weren't all rich. So for those that are aware, kind of probably the #1 soccer player in the UK when I was playing was someone called John Barnes, and I think he was on about 10K a month or something, or 10K a week. So, that's not that much money. So for me, it was kind of, I had a lot of opportunities, and I wasn't earning that much. I was signed up on a YTS, which is kind of like a youth scheme. So I was getting paid like pretty much small money per week. And, when you have challenges and you're young, it's kind of like your motivation is sometimes driven by how much money you can afford to pay for your girlfriend, or, going out on a weekend. And so I just had that opportunity when I was about 21. I was making decisions in my career. I'd kind of been let go by the club I was playing for, and I was looking for a new contract. And it was at that point where I was fortunate, because there was a release clause in my contract that I got a payout, and it was a pretty decent payout for my age back, whatever that was, 25 years ago, whatever it was. And yeah, I was lucky. I got some exposure to some of the professional guys, and they had financial advisors. They had a lot more money than I did, so they were investing in stuff all the time. But when I was young, growing up, my dad was very entrepreneurial. He was always running some kind of business. And in my school holidays, my dad would always get me kind of to do some work, answering the phone. And so I kind of really got into that entrepreneurial spirit at a very young age, and he'd pay me. I'd look for any job to earn something, to be honest. I already had in my mind I wanted to be, like successful in some capacity. And, I was always drilled in my mind that, one day you'll be a millionaire, or you'll be running your own company. My dad used to give us business plans to read. It's probably not the most normal upbringing, but for me, it was great. I loved every minute of it.
And now, how was that? I know you told me you read the Pink Sheets and Financial Times, and so what? I mean, did your dad quiz you and say, now tell me a little bit about it. What do you think? Were you going through those kind of exercises?
Yeah, absolutely. I was always asking him questions. I remember the first memory of that was my dad used to get the Financial Times in the UK, and there was the pink sheets slit within that, which was the financial side within it, and you could see all of the stocks and shares. It's kind of crazy now because there wasn't a Yahoo News or finance or anything like that we have today. I'd look through there all the time looking for something interesting, and I'd be looking at all the highs and the lows, the 20, the 52-week averages and like news associated. And I remember my dad once said to me, look, if you want to invest in stuff, we'll set up a bank account, and I'll help you buy some stocks and shares. So I remember going to Barclays when I was very young, setting up like a child's account, and sitting down with a bank manager, which was normal back then, but trying to get a meeting with a bank manager now is a bit different. And I just remember saying, I'd like to have an investment account. And I do remember the bank manager saying, well, do you have a stock in mind? And I just remember that Marconi really stood out to me because Marconi, apparently around that time, they were buying all the fiber optics as much as possible they could get their hands on. And I was thinking, this is interesting. And then they ended up getting in a contract with the US government. And the issue was that that contract was delayed. And so they ended up getting into a lot of financial difficulties. And so they started laying off people. And I was thinking, well, this stock price is falling so low, but they've got a contract with the US government. It's not been canceled, it's just been delayed. And fiber optics got to be worth something. They bought all this fiber optics. And so I thought, well, that's the perfect investment. So I just remember that was my first kind of exciting kind of thought process when it came to investing. And it literally went down to pennies. And then this thing eventually came out of the hole. They survived. That contract executed, and it just flew. And so that was my first experience. And even though I only had like $100 in it, it was enough for me to be hooked for life.
Yeah. I bet that was great. I bet you were reading those Financial Times and Pink Sheets and all that. You go picking it up.
Absolutely,
that's incredible.
Absolutely.
And you've gone through a lot. You have got Marshall and Capital. You've got the Elite Investor Club. What is the Elite Investor Club, by the way?
Yeah, good question. So when I finished kind of working in the fund management space, I was working overseas. That was Celestial Group. It was a private equity fund. I wanted to keep my hand in the traditional investment space, but I didn't want to do it professionally. And so, like yourself, when you're involved in this type of thing, you meet friends and you meet people along the way that you want to work together with. So I kind of had a few people, I would kind of say like mutual friends and associates that saw the value, I guess, of working together and getting deal flow. And so Elite Investors is as simple as that, really. It's about putting some of that network and experience together. And I've been buying private placement deals and IPOs in the traditional space, mainly companies that list in Canada, because of the dealer broker networks, really easy and a lot more flexible. I've been doing that ever since, for as long as I can remember. And so that was all it was, really. It was a bunch of guys, sophisticated investors that understood, and they were interested in investing together and getting in these private placements.
No, that's fantastic. And so let's fast forward. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on today, because I'm sure my audience will be fascinated by it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about where we're at the moment. I've been involved in the blockchain or cryptocurrency space for 4 years, very intensively. I've been I first bought or was exposed to Bitcoin in around 2013. But I had a very traditional mindset. And so it kind of affected me from really diving all the way in, because you're a little bit skeptical about, some of the, I guess you could say, credibility around it. But when I really got a chance to delve in and have the time, because I was so busy with everything else, and understood what it was all about, it was just an absolute no-brainer, and I kicked myself for not getting in sooner. Marshall and Capital really is just it's a group that has a number of different verticals associated to it. One is incubation. It's finding like amazing projects, people, and really just trying to give them all of the ammunition and support and infrastructure they need to really, do something big in the space. Anywhere from seed investment all the way through to post support after they list. And then, that's something we can talk about in a minute, because that's obviously something that's very exciting that that hopefully we can talk about in a minute. And that's obviously your space too. And then we also do investing, which is, sometimes not the most exciting thing, because I don't really enjoy being a passive investor. You do like to get a bit more involved. I definitely have a merchant bank kind of mindset where you come in and support a project, as opposed to just being a cold-hearted VC who just sits on the sideline asking for milestones and when are you going to make me a return? And we do everything in between. We even ideate our own projects, and it's all about infrastructure and building that network of support to drive the success through what you're doing, really. So that's Marshland.
No, that's super. And so tell us, I understand that you've got some incredible announcements to make and some projects. So I'm sure everybody's getting ready. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on and what major announcements you're going to make. Yeah,
so I guess the main news is we created our own platform recently, a project called LaunchX. It's I'd love to say Elon's involved, but maybe one day, because there's some similarity. Of course,
Elon, if you're listening,
don't miss out. Yeah, maybe Doge can have an association with LaunchX. But in simply put, we ideated the idea because in crypto you have certain things that are really crucial. Obviously, finding a project and the people putting them together is the big thing, but they need a place to be able to involve themselves and develop through community. And cryptocurrency has changed massively in the last 12 months through the if you like the growth of what we now call as DeFi, decentralized finance. And what that's kind of done is it's changed the landscape so much. Which we can touch on in a bit, because that's kind of really the topic of today. How is DeFi really aligning itself with FinTech? But right now, projects are looking for this launch pad. This kind of launch structure where when they do a private raise or a seed round raise, they want to then do a public raise, and that's where they offer the public, the community, an ability to get a piece of the investment, and that's called a public sale. And up until recently, most people had gone on to a centralized exchange, and the centralized exchange kind of controls all of that, and it can be quite expensive. So within the last 12 months with DeFi, there's been an emergence of launch pads, and it simply put, it's where a project would come to a community and they would do a public raise on your platform, and they would benefit from your community, and and that's kind of LaunchX. So LaunchX was ideated, and we created it in a DAO structure. So it's very community focused. It's not owned by a team as such. We have ownership through the DAO in terms of ownership of the tokens, and it enables us to bring in value partners and be very unique and specialized in terms of finding value people, really high level caliber people in the space, not only within crypto, but also external to that maybe can really bring those projects huge value outside of just crypto, but also outside of just doing the raise and then the launch. Because the biggest challenge with any business, and more so I would say in crypto, because of the FOMO factor, which we can talk on a little bit more what that means, but they really need that support post launching, because everyone's about how are you generating revenues, how are you providing support in terms of partnerships and things like that. And so LaunchX is a foundational structure project, which for us, we feel is groundbreaking. We feel that it's really there to support and incubate projects way past crypto raises, way past launching on a crypto exchange. and way into the next 5 to 10 years where they really need that traditional support and funding.
No, that's great. And let's talk about DeFi. Let's talk about that. I know that's our topic today, and I wanted to make sure we weave that in. So let's talk about, what's going on, what's happening with DeFi, what's exciting, and what's your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it is exciting. Anyone that's been in the space for a couple of years, they'll realize how I think how much of a paradigm shift we've taken since DeFi came on board. Going back just a few years, and when I started, everything was very centrically focused around Bitcoin. The talk was, are traditional companies going to accept Bitcoin as a, if you like, a transfer of money, of utility? And mainly that was because the choices of availability of other cryptocurrencies through adoption just weren't there. For the first time, I think, since I've been involved in this space, we now have this huge development that really creates DeFi and FinTech and aligns them so closely together. A lot of that is down to development, of course, but I think the biggest issue when you look at a traditional adoption with any company or individual, it's like, well, if I put my fiat, my money, my real money, if you want to call that, my dollars, into crypto, how do I get it back out? Because if it's not achievable or attainable, then it's a gamble completely, and it's difficult. So for the first time, we're now having huge amounts of development around banking and financial organizations that, you might call a neobank or a digital bank. And these companies are giving the ability for you to invest and participate into the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And if you decide you want to pull that money back out, you have so many avenues now where you can move that money into different, national currencies, be it the US dollar, Canadian, the sterling, UK pound, or whatever that might be. And so I think that's one of the biggest changes. Because of that, I think it means that we're starting to see this more of a technology play rather than just pure speculation. So, it's like anything. If you were to invest yourself, Gary, into a project that's only raising or only investing in some form of a cryptocurrency coin, you're going to say, well, at some point, these guys are going to need some way to pay for their bills, with their utilities, or maybe, how are they going to employ traditional people, staff and stuff? Because a lot of these guys, they've probably never even used cryptocurrency. So now you've got these runways, these off and on ramps where, if I want to pay somebody to do PR for me or set something like a bank account or something, I can now take my cryptocurrency, put it through a bank, one of these digital banks, and I can pay them in US dollars. So that's a massive change, something I think we are only just really seeing the beginning of. And yeah, that's pretty exciting.
No, that's really exciting. And so how are you going to play in it? So where are you going to, we look at LaunchX. What are the plans for LaunchX over the next year? And where do you want to really see this market going?
Yeah, well, one thing I didn't mention, I hope that crow in my garden is not making too much noise.
Maybe it's just me, David. And I thought, maybe there's something I don't know about around. I thought maybe it's outside.
It's outside, yeah. We've actually had some sun for the first time in a while here in the UK, so I've got the window and doors open. But yeah, getting back to some serious stuff. Yeah, so I tell you what I'm most excited about LaunchX, and it's about being able to take, as I mentioned, those projects, the best projects within crypto that are really developing something, and they want that exposure to the traditional space. We now have an exclusive partnership with an amazing fintech incubation company, probably the best one I think out there, Silicon Valley based. And we're going to be working with them to really help create value for those cryptocurrency projects that can hit revenue, that can really see themselves professionally moving into the traditional space. And really, like, one day we want to take one of these guys to $1 billion IPO, something like that. And I think we have the perfect partner. I mean, there isn't a better partner out there. So I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know if you want to mention who that partner is, but yeah, I think it's pretty close to home, right?
Yeah. No, we're very excited, and it's GSD is the partner in this particular endeavor, and we're extremely excited about it because this world is changing very quickly, and have a partnership to be able to look at how to be able to make technology accessible, to be able to level the playing field for everybody's exciting for us, and we talk about it all the time. Putting my
Yeah.
GSD CEO hat on, because that's what it's all about, right? It's about opportunity. You and I talked about it: happiness, opportunity, intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world. I love that crow, by the way. I feel like I'm back home in Pennsylvania.
What is going on? I've
I don't
literally never seen a crow before in my life.
Are you serious? You must have put some
He's
bread.
excited.
He's excited.
He's excited, Gary.
The nature, it's a good thing. I grew up on a farm in Pennsylvania, and we had a lot of crows around. Actually, it made me feel like being home again, because they would come in. We would put shell corn in the backyard, and the crows would come in. Although they're very smart, rarely do they get as close as one. It sounds like that one is.
That crow's not letting up. I'm telling you.
I'll tell you, but it's kind of nice, isn't it? We've gone through the pandemic, David. To even have your doors open again, and this, moving towards summertime, not a bad thing, right? Yeah. It's you look at life. So anyhow, we're on the GSD side. We're extremely excited, and my partner Derek has been working diligently with you on this project.
Yeah.
We're excited because you're doing something. There's a lot of interesting companies out there. We also haven't been involved in a couple companies that have moved into unicorn status. It's mating time, I think. That's what it is.
That's what it is. There we go.
I hope it's not said, hey, he looks pretty good.
This must be one horny crow. That's all I'm saying. That's quite the
I think he's looked in your eyes and said hello there.
Yeah. Maybe. Well, if I go offline, guys, and there's like a lot of noise, then you know why.
Yeah, see you later.
Okay. So typical.
So, you're going to go down through, and a lot of these companies out there, a lot of the crypto companies, a lot of companies out there need to be able to have technology to help them move into the billion-dollar status. And, if you look at, I've been in tech over 34 years. And one of the things you found is a lot about the network and who you know. And also, have you done it before or not? Because it's, once you go down through the process and have those connections, it surely makes it a lot easier the next time around. So, we're pleased at GSD to be part of the team. And we look at making, putting our own little dent in the universe. So it's really exciting for all of us. And so with that, what do you see? So, there's been a lot of, Bitcoin and Ethereum have been up and down and in and out. I've never seen anything like it in my life, actually. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen rebounds like I've seen. And, as a faithful believer in it, it's we see it go down. Ethereum was down around 1,900. It's about 2,900 again. It was up at 4,400 or so. So what's going to happen over the next year in terms of crypto, in terms of DeFi? What do you think? How's it going to change from?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I think no one really knows the full answer to that. Certainly from a micro level. I think from a macro level, I think we can make some educated, guesses along the way. I think for us, we try not to get too bogged down in the day-to-day, the minutiae of like noise, as people call it, because that can distract and also affect your ability to execute. Which is, at the end of the day, when it comes to business, it's all about execution. And if you're focused on the short term, you can sometimes miss the opportunity. Marshall and I are a big focus around infrastructure. Everything for us is about building for the next 5 to 10 years. I think there's 2 crows now. I think you're right, Gary. I think he's found his mate.
They probably came up exactly. I hit the jackpot.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think moving on from that point, infrastructure is so important for us. We want to build infrastructure so that irrespective of where the market's at, we're ready for that. And we're doing a lot of stuff, as you know, with LaunchX, with you guys, which is really, for anybody that maybe doesn't quite understand it, really the emphasis on our relationship is about really being able to do cross-pollination as well. So it's about taking the best of people. And I know you guys travel extensively, and you really, as you say, you've been there, you've done it a million times. So you know exactly the type of people and the characters, and the type of, I guess the type of, if you like, caliber of people or project to really mentor. And I think incubation really works both ways. It's about really having that experience and that knowledge, and then putting the right people and pieces together. And so the idea is really the launch pad is just a part of the infrastructure, which is building relationships. It's about maximizing opportunities. So, irrespective of what the market's doing on a day-to-day basis, you're always building, and you're ready to maximize when things are good. I guess outside of that, we're working on a bunch of different things like banking facilities, and we've got some big partnerships on the play there, which I can't talk about too much today. But yeah, short term within crypto, I mean, we've had a crazy 12 months, as you know. And of course, when things go up, there's the adage, right? What goes up must come down. I think we're kind of seeing just a natural period of consolidation, profit taking. There's companies and people have become extremely wealthy over the last 12 months to a point where at some point you want
to, sometime unfathomable. I talked to some people, neighbors where I am right now, and it's, they've made $20-30 million on Bitcoin. I mean, one of them cashed out. He said, I had a good time. It was great. It's one of my investments. Never thought it would go to where it is. We bought it for, dollars, not $40,000 or wherever it is today. So it's a great, and the world's changing with this digital transformation. I mean, look at it. This is just part of the whole change in the world. I mean, we need to be able to do cross-border transactions easier. We need to have those type of systems in place. So it's exciting. And, I started the first accelerator in Russia, and I've had thousands through startups through my accelerator. And you kind of get an idea who's going to be successful and who's not, and how to be able to coach them and mentor them, and understands what technologies. It puts you in the catbird seat. And not to be a little punny today. But
no, it's good. Good pun, Gary.
Put you in the seat to be able to see what's going on. And so incredible times. And startups that are out there, investors are out there, they're really great opportunities to be able to look at things differently. And so what were you doing, David? I'm really, I'm inspired by what you've told me in the past. I'm inspired by what I've read, and I'm inspired about the direction you're taking. So, hats off to you and your team. And we look forward to working with you. We're coming to the top of the hour. Any closing thoughts, and how can people reach you?
Yeah, so I think I just want to sort of copy that sentiment, Gary. I think we're in a world where alignment's the most important thing, to be able to execute. I think people that have had the experience of work together, that understand those ingredients you need. I think once you're at that point, you have that lack of fear. And we talked about this earlier. We talked about this previously. Wow, I think it's 3 crows now. God.
That's called a gaggle of crows. A gaggle of crows.
Yeah, there's another word for it too. I think if this carries on much further, but we won't go there. I think they're telling us to close up, but no, I think there's a big thing about, like you say, and you mention this a lot, about being happy in what you do. It's about passion. It's about enjoyment. And I think if you get that with the right people, there's that adage I think I mentioned to you before. I'm a big believer. If you get on the bus or the coach or whatever you want with the guys that you feel aligned to, you don't care so much about where you're going, how long you're going to be out, and when you're coming home. And that's really key. So I think it's all about being with the right people, aligning, working together, having fun, and the success will come. So that's what I'm most excited about over the next sort of 6 to 12 months. Obviously working with you guys is going to be a breath of fresh air, for all the experience you guys have had. And, the experience our team have had in terms of delivery. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next 12 months. I'm sure we can do a recap at some point in the future and give the audience an update, but I'm pretty excited about the future for sure.
Yeah, same here. Now we're excited too. How do people reach you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the typical social media. If you search for Marshall and Capital, we're on LinkedIn. We have Twitter. What else? LaunchX. Again, if you search for launchx.finance, that's our website. We're on Telegram. We're on Twitter. Again, we're on LinkedIn. So, feel free to reach out to us. LaunchX, a project that is, really early, but it's doing well already in a market that's kind of going through that correction. But we have some big plans for that. We're sitting on around about a $5-6 million market cap right now. Fully diluted would be still really small. We're looking to take that up to easy $100-200 million market cap, and the aspirations, and I think with the plans we've got, that's easily achievable, and maybe even further on. So I think big things coming, and it's great to be working with GSD. Can't wait.
Yes, same here. We look at the building $1 billion company together. It's a very exciting from our standpoint. I want to thank my audience for taking time out of your schedules today to join GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And my name is Gary Fowler. I'm the host. I will be back again next Tuesday for another exciting chapter, an episode, and maybe we'll even have some crows next week. Thanks so much. Enjoyed it, and it made my day. I felt like I'm back in Pennsylvania, David. Thanks a lot. Enjoy, everybody. Stay safe, stay happy, and keep smiling. Take care.